I welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django. And in this tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to send the data to the database. Now, which data we are going to be sending to the database? It is mentioned right over here. Now, this is from the previous tutorial where we have created a form that is having 6 fields and a submit button. So whatever we fill in these fields and click the submit button, that has to be sent to the database. Now, how this data is going to be sent to the database is going to be done using this function that is register. So what we are going to do is that for now we will just remove this line from here and we will start on with an if condition that says if the request method is equal to post, then what it's going to do is that it's going to supply all the 6 entities to the database using the post method. So it is going to start on from the first underscore name. Now this first underscore name is basically what we have created in our form. If you just have a look at your form as well, from the templates, here we have this register.html, and you can see that you have this name as first name. So this is what we are going to be using as an object over here. So it is going to equal to request.post and then these square brackets, and in these square brackets we are going to specify first name. And now this first name is basically what is mentioned in this register.html. This is the object for this register function, which you can create of your choice, and this is going to be from this register.html, whatever name has been specified over here. Alright, so the second thing we are going to supply is going to be the last name, and it is going to equal to request.post, and it is going to be last underscore name. Then we are going to specify the username, and that is going to equal to request.post, and it is going to equal to username. And then we are going to supply the password number 1, that is going to equal to request.post, and it is going to equal to password 1. Then we are going to specify password 2, and that is going to equal to request.post, and it is going to equal to password 2. And finally, I guess we have just missed the email, so let's just specify email over here, and that is going to equal to request.post, and it is going to equal to email over here in these square brackets. Now what we need to do is that we have to specify a new object. Let's say the name of the object is user, and it is going to equal to user, which is a building thing. Then you have to specify objects, and which objects I'm talking about? I'm talking about these objects over here. So user dot objects dot, using these objects, what we are going to do is that we are going to call a function that is basically create underscore user, and this create underscore user is also a built-in function. Now using which attributes this function is going to be created is basically these attributes over here. So we are going to write in username equal to username over here. Now this username over here is going to be for the model, and this is what is basically the value that is being passed, which is this value. As you can see that when I highlight this is also being highlighted over here. So this is basically for the model, as I told you. Now in the models.py, when we were creating the models, you also have to specify the field for the model, and this is basically what is the field for the model, and this is the value that is going to be passed, which is stored right in here, and this is basically being fetched from whatever we type in the form. Alright, so the second attribute is going to equal to password, and that is going to equal to password 1. Then we are going to have the email, that is going to equal to email, and for every entity you type in over here, basically this is the model, this is the value that is to be passed, this is the model, and this is the value that is to be passed. And then let's just complete this stuff. The next one is going to be first name, and it is going to equal to first name. Then we are going to have last name, and that is equal to last name as well. Let's just put enter over here so that it is all visible. Alright, so now you can see over here that we have got a red line under this user. I guess we need to import something for this. Alright, so we are going to type in from Django dot contribute dot auth dot models. We have to import user, and I guess that is going to solve our problem. Yes, our problem has been solved. So we have imported this user thing from django.contrib.auth.models. So as I told you before, that this is basically a built-in thing. This is also a built-in thing. This function is also a built-in thing. And for what objects we are going to create a user are basically these objects, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entities basically for the model, and 5 entities for the value that is going to be passed to the database, and that is going to be basically supplied to the values of the model we have created. Alright, now the next thing we need to do is, after creating a user, we have to just save this user. So for that we are going to call in a built-in function that is save. So user.save is going to save our user. Specify a colon at the end as well, or just don't need it. Alright, so now if all this process you have been doing so far is successful or not, if you want to check it, you can just print in a line that is going to say that user created successfully. And through this you can just check if your user has been created successfully or not. Alright, I guess it is ly. Alright, so it is going to check if your user has been created successfully or not, and if your user is created successfully, it is going to display the message right over here. And what you are going to then do is that after a user has been created successfully, you want to redirect to the main page. So to redirect to the main page, what you are going to do is that you are going to call in return redirect, and in here you are going to type in this backslash. Now you've got a red line under this as well. This means you have got to import something. So from Django.shortcuts we are going to import redirect, and I guess that is going to solve our problem. Yes, it does. Alright, so now in the else condition, what we are going to do is that in the else condition we are going to type in return render request, and we are going to type in register.html. Now what this line over here is going to do is that if your request method was not post, which means you are not allowed to create a user or something like that, then it is going to render your request to register.html, which means that the register.html page is going to actually pop in. Alright, so I guess it's time to run this code now. So let's just run our server first. So python manage.py run server is going to run our server for us. And if it has got any kind of errors, it is also going to tell us that. But I don't think we have got any kind of red line, which means that our code is going to build successfully. And yes, it does. As you can see that system identified no issues, 0 silenced, and this is our address. So let's just refresh this title page. Alright, so let's just enter some credentials. Let's say this name, Omer, then this Han, then this username, let's say is this over here. Then let's say this is going to be the email. And then let's just type in the password 12345. Let's just confirm the password to be 12345. Click on submit. And as you can see that we have been directed to the home page, which means that our user has been, I guess, created successfully. If you just go on over here, alright, so I guess you will have a message something over here as well. Yep, as you can see right over here, it says that the user has been created successfully, which means that this line was run, and after that we were directed to the main page using this line. So as you can see that when I click on the submit button, we are being directed to the website page. Alright, so now I guess we need to open our pgadmin page to see if we have got the data we entered in the form, if it is present in the database or not. So in here we are going to search for pgadmin4, and here is pgadmin4. Just click on it and it will take some time to open. Alright, so pgadmin4 is being started. It will take some time to load. So I will just pause the video here and resume when it is loaded. Alright, so you can see over here the pgadmin4 has been loaded successfully. This is the local host address. This is the port number on which it is operating, and then we have this browser over here. Alright, so let's just expand our server. Let's just expand our databases. And in my first project database, in the tables over here, what you're going to do is that in the authorized users, you're going to right click it, view added data, all rows, and it is going to load the authentic users for you, and it has run. Alright, so if you just look at over here, you have this ABC and XYZ, which were the users you have created using the Django admin page. And basically if you look at the third user which have been created over here, this is basically the user which you have created right now. As you can see that the username is Omer, the last name is Khan. The username is Omer, the first name is Omer, then the last name is Khan, and as you can see over here, the email is also true, boolean is active, and you can see the timestamp over here as well. Now the password has been encrypted, that's why you cannot see the password I've entered. Alright, so as you can see that we have basically sent the data from the browser to the database over here. So let's just quickly do one more over here. So we will just go on to register again. And I guess our server is not running. Yes, it is not. So let's just run our server first. Python manage.py run server is going to run the server for us. And it is going to run in a while. Alright, so our server is now running. Let's just go to the browser window. Let's just go back to the main page. Click on register. It is going to open you the form. Let's just do it for this person this time. And let's specify a username. Let's say this is going to be the username this time. This is, let's say, going to be the email this time. Then let's say the password is going to be 123456 this time. And then the confirm password is going to be 123456 this time. Click on submit. And it is going to redirect you to the main page. And if you just look over here and just scroll it a bit to the top right over here, you can see that it says user created successfully, which means that the data is being sent to the database. Let's just verify this by going to pgadmin4. Refresh this by just clicking on it again. It is going to load again. And you can see over here that you have got the fourth user, which is basically this first name. This is the last name which you have entered. This is the username. And this is the email for that, which means that the user has been entered successfully. Now, I know that this is not a username. I have done it by mistake, but all I wanted to tell you is that how using that form, or you can say by using the browser, you can send data to the database, and in the authorized user, which is a table that has been created not by you but by Django for you by default, and it contains the list of the users that are authorized to access your website are present, and when you just click on the submit button in the browser over there, that information is being updated in the database in the authorized user table over here. As you can see that we have created 2 users using this register button, which is right over here. Alright, so this is how basically you can register users. Now in the next tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to see that how to pass messages, I guess, and we are going to see how to verify the data we have entered in our form fields. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django. So far what we have been doing is that we have been entering the data in the form fields, and that data is being sent to the database. Now it's time to verify if that data being entered in the form fields is alright or not. For example, if we just first run our server, python manage.py, run server, click enter, and it is going to run the server for us in a while. Alright, so our server is now running. Now if you just click on register. Alright, so let's say I want to verify these passwords. Now if I enter, let's say 1234 over here and click on one and enter 12345 over here, even then my user is going to be registered and that data is going to be sent to the database. Now I don't want this to happen because I want these 2 passwords to be the very same. For example, if I just enter, let's say this time, let's say Han, then the username is going to be, let's say Postgres, and let's say this is going to be the email, this is going to, let's say the password is 1234, and in the confirm password I just type in a lot of stuff. So as you can see that these 2 passwords are not the very same. So if I just click on submit, as you can see that it has directed me to the home page, and if you just look over here, you can, if you just scroll it a bit at the top, you can see that it says user created successfully. And if you just go onto the PG admin page, click on this, view data, all rows. Alright, so you can just see in a while that you can see that the user has been created. You can see over here that we have this Bilal Khan over here, and this is the email over here, and this is the timestamp, and you have got stuff over here. Now we don't want this to happen because we have entered the wrong fields in our page over here. In this register page, we have not entered the passwords which were the very same. So what we need to do over here is that we need to have a process in which these passwords and certain other things has to be verified. For example, if I already have an email or a username in the database, then I don't want another user to have the very same username and the very same email. And secondly, I want these two passwords to be the very same. So I have to provide certain checks for that, and where these checks are going to be applied, these are going to be applied right here in this views.py, in this register function. And basically this is what is basically creating our user. So we have to apply checks on this stuff over here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is that I am going to supply an if condition that if, let's say for the first case, I want to supply the check for the passwords to be the very same. So I will write in if password 1 equals to this password 2 over here. Then what I'm going to do is that I want these lines to get executed. I want the user to get saved. So that have to be also in line with this thing. And then I want to also print in user created successfully. And after that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to redirect to the main page. But before that, I have to supply the else condition, in which I will just write in that if these 2 passwords are not same, then you should not allow it to enter this thing, which is to create the user. So it will just print in both passwords are not matching. Good enough. So if these 2 passwords are not same, the user is not going to be created, and it is only going to print a single line here on this console screen that says both passwords are not matching, and you can just specify one more line over here that is going to say that print, so you are not allowed to create the user. Good enough. And after that, it is going to redirect you to the main page in any kind of case. If the user is created or if the user is not created, it is going to direct you to the main page. Now, if you just have a look at here, we have got the problem with this if thing. We need to just align it with this, and we have to align this else with this line as well because it is a part of this if over here. So I guess that's good enough. So let's just now, all right, our server is already running, so we have to just go back, click on register, and let's say this time the name is John. Let's say the last name for this is Wick, and let's say the username is going to be John Wick, and let's say the email is johnwick@gmail.com, and let's say the password is 12345, and in the confirm password you just type in the wrong password, that is 123456789. So as you can see that these two passwords are not matching, and according to these if conditions we should not be allowed to create the users, and we should be having these two lines printed on our console screens, and we should be directed to the main page. Alright, so let's just click on the submit button, and as you can see that we have been directed to the main page as usual, but the thing we have to check over here is that what kind of message we have got over here. Now if you just scroll down, you can see that we have got a lot of errors as well. Alright, I guess, alright, you can see over here that it says both passwords are not matching, so you're not allowed to create the user. Those errors I guess were from very top. We have got this thing completely alright. It says both passwords are not matching, so you're not allowed to create the user. If you just go onto the pgadmin4 page, and the authorized user just refreshed all the rows, and it is going to load this, and as you can see over here that you have got the very same entries from the previous running of this code, and you don't have any kind of entries for John Wick over here. So this means that this if condition was very successful. So now more checks that have to be applied over here should contain checks on if a username already exists or not, if an email already exists or not. So we are going to supply those checks as well. Alright, so we have now our password validated. The next check we have to apply is, let's say, for the username. So we are going to check if a username already exists in the database, then the next user which is being registered should not have the very same username. So we are going to type in if user.objects.filter, and what it is going to filter is an attribute which is the username equal to username. So it is going to filter, this is going to be the very same model, and this is the data that has to be fetched in from the database. So it is going to check for every kind of entry that has two usernames to be the very same. So it is going to send in the data we supply from the form, and it is going to match it with any kind of username. So it is going to check if it exists in the database already. Then what it's going to do is that it's going to not allow the user to get registered. So it is going to print username already taken. Alright, so it is going to filter for the usernames as I told you, and it is going to check if the username already exists. Then it is going to print the message username already being taken. Now one more check you have to apply is for the email, I guess. So we are going to supply an else if for that. It is going to be elif, and it is going to be user.objects.filter, but this time the attribute that is going to be filter is going to be the email. So email equal to email is going to be the attribute that will be filtered, and if it find something, then it is going to check for the exists function, and if it exists, what it's going to do is that it's going to print out email address already taken. So it should ask the user to try another. You can just print it on if you want to. All right, now if both these conditions are false, then this means that the username is also unique, the email is also unique. So this means that the user, or you may say the browser, should be allowed to register the user. So this thing over here is going to be a part of else now. So we are going to specify else, and we are going to just specify tabs over here, tabs for this as well, and tabs for this as well. Alright, I guess that's good enough. I guess we have to reformat it. So we are going to just reformat our file. So now our file has been reformatted successfully. Now in this final else, you can just see that it is going to print out both passwords are not matching, and finally it is going to redirect you to the page. So what is going on in here, if I just give you a quick recap, the first thing it is going to check is going to be for passwords. If password 1 equal to password 2, if it is not, then this complete process is going to be ignored, and it is going to simply print out both passwords are not matching, so you are not allowed to create the user, and it is going to redirect you to the main page. Now if it is not the case, then what it is going to do is that it is going to filter for the usernames. Now if the username you have entered already exists in the database for some other user, then this means that the username has been taken. So it is going to filter that out, and it is going to tell you that the username is already taken, so you cannot use that email username. And then the second check it is going to apply is going to be for email. So if an email already exists and the email you have entered is not unique, then it is going to print out email address already taken, and you are not allowed to take this email address, and you have to use another email address. Now if both these conditions are wrong, then this else condition is going to be executed, which is going to create your user created successfully. It's going to be printed out on your console screens. And if you just look at the top of everything, if the request method is not post, then it is going to simply redirect you to register.html again, and nothing is going to be actually allowed for you. Alright, so our server is already, I guess, running. It is reloading. Alright, so it is now running without any kind of errors. So let's just go to the Traveler page. And for now, as you can see in the database, that we have got only 5 users, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's just create more users over here by just seeing if the checks we have applied are working fine. So in the pgadmin4, if you just have a look here, since we have a username Omer already taken, so if I just use this email address username again, so let's say the username, this stuff is the very same, it doesn't matter. If you want to supply checks for the first name and last name as well, you can also do that, but that is not, I guess, a good thing to do, because two people could have the very same name. Alright, so then if you talk about the username, let's say I use the very same username, then let's say I just use a very different email address, and let's say the passwords are also the very same, 1234 1234, which means that there is no kind of problem with the password, there is no kind of problem with the email, but the problem is basically with this username. And according to our code, it should just print the message that is username already taken, and it should redirect us to the main page. So let's just have a look at it. Let's just click on submit, and we are towards the main page. Let's see what it is printing on the console screen. So let's just go a bit at the top, and it has printed the message, as you can see over here, username already taken. So if you just go on to pgadmin4 now, view the data of all the rows for authentic users, then it is going to load the data. And as you can see over here that we have the very same 5 entries. No 6th entry has been added because the username we entered was already present in the database, and the database does not allow us to enter the credentials for the user we just entered. So let's just verify for the username also. So in the Traveler page, just click on register again. Let's say it is all set. Now let's say the user is also going to be unique. Let's say the user is this time going to be John, or let's say it is John Wick. And let's say the email is the very same, that is 2015, and you know that this email address is already taken over here, as you can see over here that this does exist. So let's say the password is also all set, 1234 1234. So all set now. Only the problem is with this email address, which is that it has already been taken. So just click on submit, redirect it to the main page, just click on cross over here, and let's go to pgadmin4, refresh. And as you can see that we still have the very same 5 entries. We did not got the 6th entry because the email address was not right, because it was already taken. And if you just go onto the console screens, you can see that you have this message printed over here as well. If you just go down, I guess, yeah, somewhere over here, yes, it is over here. It says email address already taken. So let's just finally enter some good credentials so that we can register a user now. So let's say the name is John, the last name is Wick, and let's say the username is John Wick, and let's say the email is johnwick@gmail.com. Let's say the password is also all set, 1234 1234. Click on submit. You are going to be redirected to the home page. Let's just check our console screens first, and then we will go on to the database. So if you just scroll a bit up, as you can see over here that the message has been printed that says user created successfully. And if you just go on to the pgadmin4, just refresh the user authenticated page by viewing all the data of all the rows. Right, so it is loading. It is now going to find for the data. All right, as you can see over here that we have got the 6th user now, that is having the username John Wick. First name is John, last name is Wick, johnwick@gmail.com, and you've got the timestamp as well. So this is how, by entering the correct credentials, you have just registered the user John Wick. So if you want to provide more checks for this Traveler register over here, for example, you want to supply, let's say, a check for passwords as well, that 2 passwords should not be the very same. You can provide a check for that as well. You can provide a check for, let's say, the first name as well. You can just provide a check for the last name as well if you want to, but I guess all those checks are going to be not necessary, because if any kind of website you visit does not have checks on that, because you are allowed to enter any kind of first name, any kind of last name, any kind of password. But what you are not allowed is that you are not allowed to take the very same username and the very same email address. And one more thing you can provide over here is about the passwords, that the password should have, let's say, a certain length. So you can add that thing in your views.py over here as well, that a password should be, let's say, for 8 characters only, and it should not be less than that. So you can provide a check for that as well, and that is going to be a good check. Alright, so now we have done all kind of checks. Our password is being validated if both the passwords are same. Our username is already being validated. Our email address is validated. So now I guess what's missing over here are the messages. Now as you can see that every kind of message that is being printed is printed right over here in our console screens, which we are printing over here. So what we want is that we want all those messages to be appearing here in the browser window. For example, if I just type in the incorrect passwords, these 2 passwords are, let's say, not matching, I click on the submit button, then I should get a message right over here that my passwords are not matching. I should not go onto the console screen and just scroll a bit up and have a look at my messages. So those messages, I want those messages to be passed right over here, and I want them to be displayed over here. So how messages are going to be passed in Django, that is going to be a part of the next tutorial. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.